All right, hey now everybody, we're back, brand new Take Aim, and excited to have my longtime buddy on with me, Scotti Campbell from Top O Texas Outfitters in the Texas Panhandle. What's happening, Scotti?
Not much, man. I thought I was kind of trying to beat this weather till I talked to you. It's crazy, but doing good.
We're having absolutely frosty temperatures here in Michigan. Me and Scotti talked earlier today. It's minus 39. It was minus 37 with the wind chill earlier, but now it's minus 39 with the wind chill. So it's pretty dang cold out, and you definitely don't want to be outside in this crap.
For sure, not me. It's I thought 18 was cold this morning, but I'll take it.
Yeah, it's got to go about almost 60 degrees for us to get to 18. So how crazy is that?
I love Texas.
Yeah, I don't blame you, man. So, Scotti, tell me a little bit, man, about just how cool the whole Panhandle area of Texas is, and kind of the area you're in is kind of just, I just want to say almost like underrated in the terms of like nationwide knowledge of how great some of the deer hunting is, and why you kind of think it is so good down there.
Oh, it's kind of the hidden. Most people think of Texas, you think of South Texas and the brush country, and which it's awesome, but it's big ranches, quite a bit of agriculture. I think things kind of I think that kind of helps our deer get through the winter with just the agriculture we have, and then the genetics are pretty good. These deer up here are kind of the Kansas strain of deer, bigger body, big, just good. I don't know. I think it's pretty good genetics, and then lots. It's everything up here. Obviously, like in Texas, is private, and that certainly helps a lot when you got big chunks of land for a deer to get age on.
Yeah, for sure, and to hit on a little bit, Scotti, like what you're talking about, agriculture, what kind of ag do you guys mostly have down there?
Man, 90% of the ag here is wheat, and it's, of course, the deer have to compete with cattle a little bit, but 90% of it's wheat, and these it's mostly used for grazing out, just growing cattle on. So. Yeah. So that I think it helps. Like this time of year right now, especially when these deer need things most. This all these wheat and rye and kind of helps the deer through.
Yeah, for sure it does. And I know you just mentioned it, but I want to dig a little deeper into what you said about ranches. Like when you say ranch, that's what they say in that part of the country in the South. Us up here in the Midwest instantly think it's a place that's fenced in or penned in, but that's just what you guys call properties down there. As we call them farms up here, you guys call them ranches, because lots of times they're working cattle ranches and cowboy ranches. And but what you were saying about private land, Scotti, one of the big, huge differences, and it relates to if you're really into deer hunting, it totally speaks volume about private land, is you guys have, what would you call it, Scotti? Like you have private landowners that sometimes own a small section, would be 500, and you have them up to what, 15,000 acres?
Oh yeah, bigger than that. Man, I'm pretty blessed. Like a lot of my country is one neighbor particularly that borders me on like three sides, and shoot, he's got like 60,000 acres. And a super avid hunter, knows all the management tools, and is a good neighbor to have, man. I tell you, it's but for the most part, like in this part of the world, it's if you're a cattle rancher, you're gonna have pretty good tracts of land. I'd say, like a small deal here would be a section which is 640 acres. And on up to, the 15, 20, 30,000, 50,000 acre deal.
Yeah, that's huge. For those that don't know, and correct me if I'm wrong, Scotti, but a section is like a mile square, right? 640?
Correct. It's 640 acres. It's 1 square mile.
So imagine that, guys, if you're lucky enough to hunt a piece like that, literally, a mile of ground to go mess around and play on is huge. And then you times that by what Scotty's saying, he has a neighbor that owns 60,000 acres. I mean, I can't imagine just miles and miles of endless ground. And, I mean, pretty simple, man. You can't kill all those deer. They get a lot of spots to hide, and they get some age on them, don't they, Scotty?
I guarantee you. You know, I kid my neighbor's is a good friend of mine, and I kid with him a lot. Like, man, you got deer on here. They die of old age you've never even seen before. But it certainly lets these deer get the age structure. You know, and like on my deal, we try not to shoot anything under 5.5 years old, and anyway, these deer, they just get the opportunity to get the most out of them anyway.
Yeah, for sure. Another neat thing is that, you know, Texas has, I would say in my opinion, and probably in yours too, Scotty, you guys kind of started the wave of like quality deer management. So would you say like your neighbors are kind of on board? Is everybody kind of educated about, you know, trying to get those deer to hit that 5.5-year-old range before you guys start taking some out?
Yeah, for sure. Man, that's a big deal that we're not everybody does it, but man, I'm super blessed and where I live at and where I hunt at that my neighbors are like they've been doing it forever. You know, I guess I don't know. It's you know, out here to be a good cattle rancher, you're ultimately a grass farmer, really. So, you know, and everything that benefits from you being a good grass farmer, certainly, and it enhances everything. That, you know, to be a good cow guy, you're going to be a good deer guy.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I noticed, you know, when I've been down with you a couple times, that every piece of ground, whether it's on top or in the bottom, if it's flat, you guys have some winter wheat on it. I mean, more or less.
Correct. Man, I'll tell you this year, like a bunch of my country, which I lease a lot of it, but the guy leased from one particular place this year, we tried a whole new deal, and we, particularly for, like, he's a cattle rancher, so it was about his cattle, but man, I certainly I reaped the rewards as a deer hunter on it. Was we put probably 600-800 acres in turnip, radishes, and then with wheat, like a mixture, and man, it was phenomenal.
That is phenomenal. I know, you know, we're going to get into some of your personal deer hunts here in a minute, but me and you have always talked over the years, and one thing that, you know, I've always stuck out in my mind, Scotty, when we talked, is you always talk about good years and bad years, and you relate that to moisture. We always talk about it as, up here we're just afraid of VHD, where you don't get it down there really. But you are a big believer in those moisture years, just relates to good antler growth. So in your opinion, Scotty, how was last year, and how do you feel like you're looking going into this year?
You know, right now it's pretty good. We got a lot of ground moisture. We've had, I've probably had 10, 11 inches of snow throughout the year and some rain mixed in. So that's awesome to get us through the winter. And then hopefully get some spring rains early and get some of the, you know, get that antler growth started good. Our deer, like, we're not dropping antlers yet. It's primarily in like April, mid-March to April when we really drop antlers. And if we can get some rain with some ground going through the winter, man, it'll really help us out. And this too up here, I've seen, you know, over all the years, if we get just an okay year, it seems we have our best growth as far as, like, just enough rain to kind of drag us through. For whatever, I was talking to David Morris about it. He with Bucks of Tecumseh, and we can get too much rain up here, and it certainly washes the nutrients from the soil. Right. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. I had like 30 inches of rain, which I average about 20 here on a regular year, and I thought, man, 30 inches of rain. It was, grass was deep and beautiful and green, and I thought, man, this is going to be an awesome year. But it really turned out that it wasn't it wasn't that great. And even in speaking as a cattle rancher, you know, because ultimately I'm shipping pounds of beef, even the cattle weights were off that year.
Were they really?
Have the nutrients. Yeah, it's
Wow.
crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, that is. That is really crazy. Yeah, that's funny. Which we've talked about too. Your guys' soil is pretty dang rich down there, so to speak, and a lot of deer benefit off the mineral content in that ground. And you've always told me that even you've noticed with your cattle, you know, just the mineral is so important to your cattle, you know, just from the soil. So it would make sense that it kind of washes it, or you know, it probably takes it deeper in the soil, makes it harder to get to, obviously, when you get that kind of rain. 30 inches down there for you guys is pretty excessive, because it you know, it's mostly a dry habitat, and it soaks it up pretty good.
For sure, it's definitely, you know, it's pretty arid here, but like I think my house is 2,700 feet, so we're kind of up there for as Texas goes, and but yeah, we if we can do 18 inches a year, life will be good.
Yeah, for sure. No, yeah, I mean, that's another cool thing that we haven't spoke about yet. But you think of Texas, you kind of think of exactly what you mentioned earlier about the elevation. You think of it a lot more flat. You're in an area that is really diverse with the terrain, which makes it beautiful. And you know, I hunted a spot with you, you know, a few years back, Scotty, that basically, remember I walked in off the road, and that winter wheat field was really a bottom, and I sat basically up on that cliff trying to bow hunt.
Yeah.
And man, I said, I don't want to fall off this thing. You'd be in really bad shape if you fell off one of these one of these cliffs here. I mean, they get deep and it's rocky, and you just don't think of you know, Texas like that, so to speak. But man, it's beautiful, and the terrain is so diverse. I mean, some spots I've been with you, it's flat as a pancake, and you go over there and it's like rocky, jagged, and some of the most, you know, just beautiful ground you've ever seen.
Yeah, it's pretty. You know, it's. I'll tell you where it makes its transitions is between the rivers, like the breaks off the rivers, and like where I hunt is on the north breaks of would be the Salt Fork of the Red River, and wherever you know, a mile and a half or so, 2 miles off of those rivers, man, it gets pretty rough. You know, kind of broke up country, canyons and cedars, and pretty neat stuff. I sure like it a lot.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, it's some of the prettiest ground I've ever seen, and obviously some of that rough terrain like that makes it really good for deer hunting. And you know what's cool about your area, Scotty, is so diverse, man. It's crazy. When I talk deer, it's mostly whitetail, but you guys got some of the best mule deer, I think, maybe in the state. And you've sent me pictures of elk, free-range elk, just walking by before. And you know, one thing that's been on my lifelong bucket list to do is kill an aoudad, and you occasionally have aoudad. So I mean, just crazy to think of the diversity in the country you're at there down there.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man, because you like the aoudad, for instance, you can hunt them anytime. You know, there's no season on them, and elk for that matter, which I don't see a ton of elk, but you never know here. There's little pockets of them here and there, but it gives you something to do, certainly year round. And of course, mule deer, we have little pockets of mule deer scattered, and that's my favorite. I love chasing the muley.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a second, but let's talk real quick, Scotty, about the aoudad. I mean, last year you killed just a whopper of an aoudad, and I just think such a neat animal to hunt. You know, it's so crazy looking. For one, it's absolutely beautiful with these big curling horns and big mane, you know, underneath the bottom of its chin down to, you know, the bottom of his chest. But it's just one of those animals where, you know, there's not, almost, Scotty, like there's not a lot of science behind like how to hunt them. It's either you got them or you don't, and you don't have a prayer if they're not around.
I mean, you know, those things they're super nomadic. I mean, they absolutely zero like a deer, pattern of deer, other than they like rougher country. They like the rough, rim-rocky type country. The steeper, the better. But I got quite a bit of country there, and you may go in there this week and see, then you might not see them for a week. They just wherever they land that day, they're happy with it. It's crazy.
That is crazy, but I mean, you shot a tank of one. So what happened on that hunt, Scotty, when you ended up killing that big aoudad?
Man, it was cool. It was fun. I had my bow. I was looking for muleys, and I thought, man, I'll throw my gun in, because I've made several stalks on those audads. They're with my bow, and they usually run in pretty big groups, 15, 18, 20 of them, and boy, you got that many eyeballs on you, it is it can be tough, especially in like this rolling plains here. There is where my aoudad is no brush. It's just cliffs and super. It's rough country, but it's really open country. And anyway, I had the gun in me that day, and I eased up in this place. I always see muleys and look over and like, man, they are bedded. And I thought, no way possible to get any closer to them than I was. I think it was 150 yards. And, well, it's a pretty good ram. I'm gonna go ahead and get this over with, and then I can focus solely on mule deer.
It's a good idea.
So got him knocked over, and it was crazy, man. He was as big a bodied audads I'd ever seen. He was not the biggest horns, but certainly big bodied. Shot him down in a canyon, and I didn't have a pack with me or anything that day, and so I couldn't move him, couldn't get him out of there, and so finally I called one of my buddies. I said, hey, I need some help, get up here. And so it took him an hour to get to me, and we kind of picked a trail in there, and actually drove a quad in there and got him out. It was it wasn't easy, but he was huge bodied.
Huge body. I don't. Do you have an idea what that thing weighs, Scotty? I mean, it's well over 250. It's got to be.
I would say 250, 270, probably 275. That was a huge sheep. They're big. Just the bone in them is nice. They're like their leg bones is huge.
Real massive. Yeah, big bone density. Yeah.
Very.
Almost makes sense, right? Because I would assume the way they walk, and a lake could go in a hole, so to speak, and they're probably just built like that for a reason, so they don't break bones. You know what I mean? But
they climb like
nothing.
Crazy. Yes, I was a couple of years ago. I was in the Palo Duro Canyon, which is south of Amarillo. It's I don't know if you know, but it's the second largest canyon in the United States,
which is huge.
And and it's like crazy rough. It's the Grand Canyon, but it's rough. And anyway, long story. I bed these sheep one night, and come back next morning. We find them, and I'm rifle hunting and kind of get them in this little boxed out canyon deal. And I bet it's 500-foot cliff behind them. And I thought, man, like they got to either run over me or I'll get him, if I shoot. And it's kind of, they was figuring out that, something was up. So I couldn't get very much closer. Anyway, I missed the sheep. And I thought, well, shoot, I missed. They'll turn and run right at me. No, they went up this, I don't know how. They went up a cliff. It was like a rock climber would have had a hard time getting up. It was crazy.
That is crazy. It's what they do, though, and how they live, and I think that's what makes it such a neat trophy, and like what you alluded to earlier, makes it almost so hard to kill one with a bow. They run in big groups, and like you said, so many eyes and ears, and just some of that steep country, you can't get that close to them. It seems hardly ever. You just very rarely hear about a bow hunter. Not that it can't be done, but you just don't hear very often a bow hunter getting it done with stick and string.
That's right. And I guess I see where some people put feeders and things out maybe and get those sheep where they come to those and I guess get it done. But like I don't work all that country I have. I don't run any feeders or do any of that kind of thing. I the spot and stalk, and it's tough to mow. But man, it's certainly a great challenge and fun.
Yeah, it is for sure. But I know that that's a good lead into your mule deer because you were actually out scouting for mule deer, and man, you put a shot on a great mule deer down there. And I just want to talk about some of the details of that hunt and how you ended up, getting the job done, so to speak, with the bow.
Man, that was it was luck. Thank goodness. Sometimes have lots of luck on their side, but of course we got a lot of deer. But that particular day, again, I was just kind of trying to cover some country and glass and just find something bedded. Obviously to do with a bow, and it was pretty darn warm that day, like 90-degree warm, and windy, super windy. I had I don't know. I bet the wind was blowing 30 miles an hour. It was just howling. And anyway, kind of jumped in the south side to kind of move and just hit some high spots and set up in glass from. Anyway, my buddy John Gibb, John, he was with me, and of course my wife was with me, and we kind of headed up this little hill. Anyway, John's like, man, I just seen a set of forks go over the hill out there. And I guess this deer was on his feet. Well, anyway, we go over to the park and take off and sneak down looking over in these canyons where he bailed, and man, he just disappeared. And of course we were looking right under us, and my wife, she's like, look back, and she's up on the hill waving. She's like, across the canyon way, the deer made a mile across that canyon there. He was a little more spooked than what we thought, but anyway, it was pretty awesome. We had the wind, and he had done settled down and went to feeding, and John is a camera guy, so we had the camera, and we decided for him to set up with the camera on the side of the canyon we were on, and I said, man, I got to loop all the way around. It was about a mile around the head of that canyon to get to him, and I told John, like, you just keep your eye on him and see. Hopefully he stays there. And so anyway, I make my way around the canyon and then over him, and I kind of knew where he was, and eased up over the rim rock there, and man, he's standing on the bottom feeding, and ranged him and put it on him and made a good shot, luckily.
So from the time you guys, let's back up a little bit, Scotty. Do you guys do a lot of your glassing or whatever from like the vehicle from the road? Or
quite a bit.
Yeah.
Quite a bit. You're just trying to cover all the country you can, and like, as you know, you've been here, there's quite a bit of like roads on the ranches, just simply it's oil field traffic roads.
Right.
It's
like
the only
two-track
thing on there. Yeah,
them,
two tracks. Correct. And so yeah, I just try to cover as much country as you can, obviously trying to find a mature deer or the deer that you want, and just try to hit the high spots and set up glass and go you find something.
So that deer went over that ridge, and you said he ended up creating what sounded like a gap of a mile. Did you guys move positions, or did you stay where you were and just made a plan from there to get on him?
We set, of course, John set the camera up. We looked him over, and I was like, that's a deer I want to take. He's a nice deer, so that's what we decided. John stayed exactly where we were at once we relocated him, and he sat there with the camera, and then I had to go all the way around the head of the canyon, which was a mile or so, and to move in on him, obviously with a bow, to get within bow range, and man, it worked out. He was just under a bluff, and I guess it was because it was so windy that day. There was zero wind down in there where that deer was at. Everybody asked, like, how did you make that shot? Looking at the film, that grass is laying over, but once I kind of got off the edge down on that rim rock, on the ledge of that cliff, that deer below me, I was really out of the wind, and he certainly was. So anyway, he arranged him. I think he was 46 yards and made a good shot. We got it all on video. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's a heck of a shot. 46 yards isn't close by any means. And how far away was John from you as he was filming, Scotty?
I'm going to say he was probably 500 yards.
Oh, okay. So,
yep, across the canyon on a rock.
Yeah, so he kind of captured where the buck was laying, and you kind of doing the whole spot and stalk thing.
Yeah, we didn't get the shot in one frame, but like he would pan from me to the deer, and it's funny. Like I hadn't done a lot of filming for myself or anything. Heck, I don't get to hunt a ton for myself, as you know.
Right.
But he you can see me easing along that ledge looking for him, and then you can dang sure tell when I see him. I'm like, whoa, there he is. So I kind of ducked down and dug my rangefinder out, and then kind of got a range on him there, and then I kind of like tried to pull back, leaned over where he can see me, and stand up and look over the cliff at him. But
was he facing away from you, Scotty? So it gave you opportunity.
Man, he was quartered away from me super hard.
Okay.
And like and he was kind of feeding away, and I just like basically get it now. I felt confident in the shot, and so anyway, I kind of like dropped that old pin right behind that rib, to me, between the hind quarter and the rib, and well, I was super happy when I seen that knot go out of sight, and of course he kicked, and John had panned down to the deer from me, and got him, kicking in there and taking off, and he probably run 50, 60 yards around through there, and boom, and he fell over, and when he in that 50 or 60 yards from where I was standing, it was I thought he went down, but I wasn't sure if it was a little hump that he went over or he went down, but I knew it hit him good. Anyway, so John texted, or I texted John, and I said, did I get him, or did you get that? And he said, yeah, I got it all. I got him falling over on the shot. And I said, well, heck yeah. So I wasn't sure, but anyway, it was
That's
fun.
Cool. So that gave you some relief. At least you knew he was down.
Yeah, he was down. So yeah, we pack up and come all the way back around the head of the canyon there, and grab John and the camera, and we head to him. And I was pumped, man. It was a no super monster deer, but for a Texas deer, he was nice.
Oh, that's super good mule deer, man. I'd be happy with that from Texas to Alberta. And and I know, Scotty, you got bigger ones than that, mule deer-wise, down there. There's some sleeper mule deer down in that area that are just giants.
There are, man. I tell you, I know you've seen the pictures. My wife, she killed a stud this year for our part of the world. It was a great deer.
Yeah, I'm sure Di was happy with that one, right?
Yeah, she was pretty dang tickled. She's got the mule deer bug now. So I guess, I don't know, I told her, I was like, I guess start applying. Hunt them. It's, we have so many whitetails here, and it just is something, which
something different.
Always, it's different, and like I was telling you earlier, we don't got just tons. Those mule deer are kind of in pockets here, and we don't have just a ton of them, but the ones we do have, man, we nurture them. We let them grow, and like it made. That's the first mule deer I'd shot in, I don't know, probably 3 years, I guess. Yeah, 3 years. And so kind of, we try to watch them and let them grow, and hope they don't leave. I had a deer, man. It's a crazy story. Again, this is my neighbor I was talking about earlier with the big, had all the 50,000 acres, 60,000 acres. He, it's been year before last, I had a deer that was like religiously never left me, there all the time. And so opening day, had him 60 yards, and I thought, man, I actually called my son Wes, and I said, I think I got this deer here at 60 yards. I said, man, I think I might give him one more year, see what he does. Of course, he said, I don't know. He's mature. He said, that deer's old enough. I'd shoot him. He said, but do what you want. It's your call. Heck, you don't never go anywhere. Well, I was wrong. Let him go. Thought, I'll not worry about it. Well, about 2 weeks later, my neighbor calls me that morning, and he said, man, I got a really nice muley this morning. I said, oh, yeah, where at? And he tells me, and it's like 5 miles from on his place where he gets him to where I had him for 3 years watching him grow.
No way.
And just got behind a hot doe, and she took him off. And anyway, he sent me the picture of it, and I was like, oh, man, you shot my deer. And, of course, we had a big laugh about it. And he said, is that the deer you've been talking about? And I said, yeah. So anyway, it was a 170-inch deer. I'm a dummy for not taking him. And the deer turned out to be, Brandon, like 7.5 years old.
Oh, no way.
Looking at, yeah, man, I was like, doggone, I thought, I was thinking 4 or 5, and he actually turned out to be 7.5. And so you never know, but hey, I was proud of my neighbor, man. He's very deserving.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I was going to ask you that actually, Scotti, about aging some of the mule deer down there, because mule deer just are naturally bigger bodied anyways. Have you, unless you have one on your ranch, so to speak, and you see them year to year, have you noticed, just ever having a hard time trying to age some of them?
I do, Brandon. I just because we don't have so many of them. The way I age them is just by keeping up with them and watching them grow from nothing to, okay, I know him. I've known this deer for the last 4 years, 5 years, or whatever.
Yeah.
That's my aging tool.
Yeah.
Because it's hard. Obviously, once they get super mature, you can, pot-bellied, sway back. We took some deer last year that, they'd look like it was just so obvious. Looked like an old man, old horse. You could just tell they were super old. The way they walked, moved. But far as from that 3 to 5 year mark, man, that's pretty tough for me.
That's what I was asking. Yep, 3 to 5, exactly that. Yeah, it's so hard to tell. I would assume it is, anyways.
And like my muleys, it's hard to get them on camera. A ton. I get them some, but not. I don't get just a ton of pictures of them on camera. For instance, I got feeders set up everywhere for whitetail deer, but those muleys they don't fool with a feeder. They just will not come around them. And I don't know if it's because they're shy of the whitetail. I don't know what the reasoning is, but they just aren't interested. So and it gives me something to do, man. I enjoy with the spotting scope and the binos and the phone scope anymore. We spend a ton of time out just watching them all the time.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if you remember, Scotti, but last time I was there, we ended up seeing it was off that asphalt road, and it was right under a water tank. There were 2 big mule deers. We ended up seeing that. I mean, one of them was just giant, probably touching high 170s, 180s, but they were just off the road 50 yards, no big deal, Just
yeah, we ended up. The one you're talking about is a deer that Wes ended up getting that year.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I wasn't sure if that was one of them, but I thought because they had big winter wheat fields across the road, right? If I remember
Correct.
right.
That's it. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And that land that was across the road where that wheat field was my land. It might have been the next year, that year, whatever. But Wes got him, and it's funny, because our season, especially our rifle season, is super limited. It's only a 2-week season for the muleys, and so anyway, we were already hunting whitetails, and I told those guys, man, I'm on them. That deer right there, if I get the opportunity and during season, I'm going to take him. And so anyway, it was opening day, I think it was, maybe second day of season, the mule deer season, and anyway, I was hunting with my wife, whitetails. Of course, we're sitting there, and I get this phone call, and it was my son Wes, and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm deer hunting." He said, "Well, you're going to be mad at me." And I said, "Why? What happened?" He said, I got a nice deer out there. I said, did you shoot my mule deer? And he's like, yeah. He was down there. I seen him, spotted him and made a stalk on him and got him and all that. And I was like, well, I can't be too mad. He was a super nice deer.
Oh, it was a super nice deer, yeah. And congrats to Wes. That's cool. Super cool. So I'm sure he was excited.
I was, I was like, well, dang it, I guess it's okay. Keep it in the family.
That's right. That's right, man. Well, I know I'm excited for this year to come down and see you, and me and you are going to do it together and get after some deer. So I hope you're ready.
I am ready, man. I am ready. I enjoy hunting these muleys with my bow more than, I don't want to say more than elk, but I certainly like it. That's my favorite too.
Yeah. I know that it adds a whole. I mean, you know me, Scotty, man. I love my whitetails, but that once you kind of get a taste, especially as a bow hunter, to spot and stalk something, it gets real addicting. And and I think that's all it is just being able to get out and spot and stalk them and move on them, and it's a whole new kind of adrenaline. And man, it gets addicting. It just is what it is. It's addicting.
For sure. And my archery season for the mule deer is like a month long. So I get a lot of time, and the rifle season is so much shorter. And then I'm usually like super busy with clients, during our mule deer rifle season. So I don't get to spend a ton of time chasing those muleys, and I only do very, very limited amount of mule deer hunt as far as clients goes. Try to keep that, for us something to do, especially with the archery deal. But man, it's addicting. It and the sheep both.
Oh yeah, that's super cool, man. But I'm super excited to have you on, man. And I'm super excited that you were kind of taking more time for yourself to hunt, and I just love talking to you, and we get to kind of share some of these stories, and just hear you so fired up about hunting again just makes me excited, and I'm happy for you that you're getting out and chasing more aside the business, that you're getting out and doing it for yourself. So I'm super happy for you.
Well, I appreciate it. And I appreciate you having me on. I didn't tell you that, but it's I'm not getting any younger, Brandon. There's a lot of things I want to do yet.
I hear that, man. It's going by too quick, and we live and die, so to speak, as hunters by dates and seasons, and man, they're going by so fast that me and you talked about it I think a week ago. Just we can't stop the clock. We just got to start grinding a little more and a little faster, and try to achieve some of these goals.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one thing I made a commitment myself last year. Like, man, I'm going to cut back on the business, which I'm fortunate. It's been good, and I love the people, the atmosphere, and my job. It's a good job. I get to enjoy it. But since I'm 18 years old, I've been chasing these deer around for other people, and I'm like, I want to do some me hunting. So I've made a commitment to myself. I'm gonna do a whole bunch for me, and then like get to hunt, with my family. Got a grandson that kind of loves to go, and of course he's young yet, but loves to go and be a part of it. And then like our elk hunts, our mule deer hunts that I go out of state and do, I get to do with my son Wes, and man, that's that makes it all worthwhile. And of course some good friends. John, I was telling you about earlier, he's him, and there's another guy or two that it's just good company, good fun, kill something or not, just being out in the great outdoors, man, it's the best part, and doing it for yourself.
Yeah, there's nothing better, man, for sure. It's nice to have camp with good guys and people you enjoy being around, and it kind of goes hand in hand with the actual act of the hunting is spending that time with guys that like to do it as much as you do, and that's, I don't know, that's just part of, I guess, why we love it so much. You know, it just is good memories and good times.
Yeah, it's challenging. You know, it's I've sat around here in my older age, and kind of gotten out of shape. You know, when because you know, my dad was an outfitter in Montana, and I worked for him for 12, 14 years there, and I always took being in shape for granted because I was young. And then, you know, you sit around in whitetail camp here doing what I do, and one day I'm like, man, this ain't cool. So anyway, long story, we've been doing the backcountry backpack hunts here the last few years, and it's a great incentive to get in better shape. You know, of course that leads to a whole lot of doors opening for us personal, you know, just personally being in better shape and health.
No, for sure, man. And I applaud you for doing that. And I know when you sent me pictures this year, I couldn't believe the transformation in you. You know, I noticed right away, and I was like, holy cow, I got to talk to Scotti about the regimen he's been doing because, man, it's really worked. But there isn't a better motivator in my mind if you like to hunt, you know, is use that, you know, as your will and your kind of your drive to, you know, want to get in shape. And, you know, just, you know, Scotti, as well as I do, man, it pays off dividends just with even just a 10-pound backpack. It pays off dividends, just how you feel, and it's everything.
It is, man. It's super cool. You know, I kid everybody, like, you know, my hunting partner's like Wes, he's 28 years old. I think John's 30. Man, I'm 52 and running around with all these kids. If I'm gonna keep up with them in the Oak Mountains, and I got to do something. So you know, no secret plan or anything, man. I just try to load my pack up and do something every day, and of course I have to certainly watch my diet, and just feel better. I just feel a lot better, man. I'm 52, you know, and I played all sports when I was young, done everything, and but I don't have any knee issues. I don't have any pains or anything like that. Like you hear of, you know, guys my age having.
Yeah, that's good. But yeah, part of that is just the doing it and sticking to it, you know. And I know so many guys that, you know, between my age and your age, and gosh, you would think they're through the ringer, it seems, and some of that I just want to tell them, man, you just got to exercise, lose some weight, and all that joint pain, back pain, and I mean, that's a whole nother podcast, I guess, but there's a lot of truth to that for sure. But you know, before we go though, Scotti, I want you to kind of let everybody know where they can find you, social media, your Instagram and Facebook, and how to reach out to you if they got questions about coming down and doing some whitetail hunting with you.
You bet, man. It's the Instagram is top _ Texas Outfitters, and then Facebook page is Top of Texas Outfitters. I don't do, as you know, I don't do a ton of advertising. I don't have a website and all that. We've been just blessed for all these years of being born into this business, and this word of mouth. You know, repeat. 95% of my deals repeat, so we're pretty blessed. So I don't do a ton of advertising or anything like that, but look us up on the social media. We have a Facebook page, and then the Instagram deal, and anybody looking for a super quality hunt, we'd be glad to accommodate you.
Yeah, for sure. And as well as if you got questions, you can get with me, and I'll get you in touch with Scotti. But nowadays, Scotti, with your Instagram and as many great pictures as you got up, you don't really need a website, so you're on the right track anyway. So and having those repeat customers is the way to go. That means you're doing something right. So if it's hard to get into a place, you know you're hunting with a good outfitter.
Well, we try hard, you know. We hunt hard. That's the only thing we can guarantee, or that's the only thing we have to offer. You know, is just working hard for you. So and it's fun, man. You know, like I say, I don't have to wake up and hate going to my job every day.
No, you certainly don't, which is a great thing. And I know I get down there this fall, Scotty, I'll bring the equipment. We're gonna do some podcasts from camp, and hopefully talk about some back straps on the grill.
Heck yeah, that's sounds like a great plan, Brandon.
All right, man. Well, thanks for being with me today. And as everybody knows, you can find us every week on iTunes, Pod Bros, and the Unfiltered Outdoor app. And make sure to check out Top of Texas Facebook, Top of Texas Outfitters Instagram. And Scotty, we'll chat again soon.
Thanks for having me, Brandon. Appreciate it, buddy.
Absolutely. Pleasure, man. Thanks.
You bet.